I will let each of them introduce themselves. So today we'll hear from 5 different universities. However, there are about 80 different universities that all have a full-time staff member based here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you want to reach out to another university directly, you can just go to texasdarn.com and all of their contact information will be listed under the directory tab. But now I will go on ahead and turn it over to my colleagues and let them introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Brenda Chavez and I work for DePaul University. It's in Chicago, Illinois. Our Drury House College of Business was the first in Chicago and one of the first 10 in the US. So we've been around for quite a long time and it's such a pleasure being here with you all today.
Hi y'all, my name is Aspen Arnold. I'm manager of Texas recruitment for Michigan State University. MSU is located in East Lansing, Michigan, and we're home to the Eli Broad College of Business, which is the number 13th ranked public business school in the nation and actually the largest undergraduate business school in the nation. Thanks for being here.
Hey y'all, my name is Kelsey Waters. I'm the Assistant Director of Recruiting for the College of Business at Mississippi State University, another MSU. We're going to be located in Starkville, Mississippi. Mississippi State has about 22,000 students on campus, and in the College of Business, we're just over 3,000. So you get a big college feel with a really intimate College of Business setting. So I'm excited to talk to y'all more about what we offer.
Hi everyone, I'm Shannon Ramsey. I'm the Assistant Director for Prospective Student Services here in Spears Business at Oklahoma State University, which is located in Stillwater, Oklahoma, about 60 miles from Oklahoma City and Tulsa. We have a probably 24,000 student population. About 4,500 of those are undergraduate business students, and I'm excited to share more with you today and answer any other questions you have. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Jennifer Fowler. I'm Associate Director for National Recruitment here at the University of Arkansas. University of Arkansas, of course, located 5 hours from the Metroplex up in Fayetteville. We are home to the Sam M. Walton College of Business that's been ranked for almost 2 decades now as a top 30 business school. And we're home to 28,000 total students, about 24,000 undergraduates.
Great, thank you ladies. We will go on ahead and just kick it off. Can you talk to us a little bit about the difference in business degrees and what are some of the different options that students might have?
Sure. So, one of the big questions that we get is what's the difference between a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and a Bachelor of Science or a business management degree option. And I'd say on a grand scale, there's not really that big of a difference between those two titles in the degree programs. Every university, every college is going to have a different setup for what degrees that they offer. A business administration degree, you might be looking at something that's a little bit more broad and covers a lot of core business curriculum, anything from accounting to finance, entrepreneurship, management, marketing, a little bit of everything. Whereas maybe a business management might be very specific to the field of management, more personnel issues, more human resource issues, leadership, that kind of thing. I'd say, for us at Spears Business, we offer a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with 10 different degree options that you can then have a more specified focus in, whether that be anything from general business to, again, those list of more specific accounting, finance, management, and marketing. So my big thing would be to say don't necessarily get hung up on the title of your degree, but really kind of dig into what the content is, what the university offers, what courses you might be taking, what resources and opportunities you have. And I think, Kelsey, that you're going to share a little bit more about sort of how to find that right fit for you.
Yeah, great. Kelsey, if you want to touch on that a little bit, how do students find which degree might be the best fit for them? Knowing that there's quite a few different options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a question that I have gotten tons of times just because students want to make sure that they're making the right decision with this big choice of their college. So for what I talk about to students, it's all about what do you see in your future? Don't just lock yourself into, I have to study X because that's what's going to take me in a direction, but try to focus more on what do you enjoy? What are your strengths? What are your natural talents that you already have? And how can we kind of guide that into a career that's going to make you some money and not have you left on mom and dad's couch when you graduate from college? That's the goal. So I always tell students to really think about what does the future look like and make yourself as versatile as possible. So for us at Mississippi State, all of our degrees are Bachelor's of Business Administration. like Shannon said, in 7 different emphasis. So like accounting, finance. But the more important part is figuring out how you can take these skills and really move between all the industries that might interest you, because you might be in a job for 25 years and decide that you want to do something different. And so a business degree can help you kind of navigate that as you get older or get further into your career, because you're going to have the skills to really move however you want to. So one of my students says that when she looked for her marketing degree, she got on Indeed.com and just searched what kind of jobs can she get with a marketing degree, or what kind of jobs can you get with an accounting degree? Because I think a lot of times business degrees are mistyped, that you're going to be stuck in a cubicle with a 10 key and you're just going to be at the computer all day. So it's more so about what kind of doors do these degrees open, and do any of those line up with the skills that you have or kind of the future that you see yourself having. You can also shadow people that you're familiar with, your family, your friends. You can always go, like I said, to Indeed or Monster or one of those kind of websites to check things out, and just kind of ask questions about people that you see living lives that you're interested in, and kind of find ways to mimic their paths.
Thanks, Kelsey. That segues perfectly into our next question. You talked about how students don't want to be stuck on their parents' couches after graduation. What are some of the career options and possibly salary ranges for students that get out of college with a business degree?
Yes, so I'm going to echo exactly what Kelsey just said, kind of led perfectly into this. There are so many different opportunities for you in the career world. And a lot of times colleges will set the curriculum up so that you have a better understanding of the corporate world. So I'm going to tell you my own story. My grandfather was a petroleum geologist for ExxonMobil. And so I grew up watching the stock market and stuff with him. And I was going to be a stockbroker, right? I loved it. I was fascinated. Boy, I got to the University of Arkansas and I took my first finance class and I was like, nope, this is not for me, right? So a lot of times your curriculum in your colleges are actually set up. We make students take accounting 1-2, macro and microeconomics, supply chain management. You're taking a class in all that. And what we're hearing from our employers that hire our graduates is we love that. I may hire an accountant, but I know that my accountant from the University of Arkansas knows what's going on in this department, okay? So we will expose you to a lot of those career opportunities. There's a ton of stuff out there. Again, you know, I was an accounting major, I swapped to accounting. And again, that's typical, you don't want to be stuck in a cubicle doing numbers all day. So I looked more into the operational side, operational auditing. But you'll get exposed to a whole lot of things. My favorite example I like to use is a lot of time people are like supply chain management. What does that mean? And you have some universities on here today that have some of the top best programs in North America. And right now in a pandemic, I think students are all of a sudden realizing, oh yeah, that's how we get our products, right? We all needed toilet paper. We all needed Lysol. So supply chain management is like, how do we get the products faster into these areas of needs? You know, we happen to be where Walmart headquarters is. So we work a lot with Walmart Transportation, JB Hunt, and they actually come to our classes and teach. We have a hurricane that hits the South Carolina. They run out of Pop-Tarts. Like there's people that literally track this data and how we can get in to do emergency response. And I would just say keep an open mind, shadow, like Kelsey said. If there's something in the corporate world that sounds fun and maybe you're like, accounting's boring. Well, why don't you shadow accountant? See the different types of accounting. You know, do you want to be a tax attorney or operational auditor, whatever it may be? Look into supply chain management. You have, of course, your finance, your real estate, your banking, personal financial management, the ones that will work at your big investment firms handling other people's money. Oh gosh, what else can you do? Of course, economics, you can do that. I did your finance. A big thing you're going to hear a lot of universities push, we actually have a new major coming on board, several other of our colleagues will too, entrepreneurship. You know, we teach classes in venture capital. What does that mean? I had no idea until I was stuck out in San Francisco traveling with our business college dean, and I was like, oh, this all makes sense. But again, you know, this may be way over your head right now. The best thing to do is to shadow, to research, hop on Indeed. I love that tidbit. But see what kind of jobs are out there, and then leave the rest to your curriculum. You know, your universities will build your curriculum to help you get exposed, first of all, to the different types of business. And then we'll help you go from there. We'll help you find internships, jobs, of course, things like that. So.
Can I jump in here real quick and add, Jennifer, like you said, use your resources. A lot of schools have career centers dedicated to helping students explore different majors, what careers align with those majors. Here at Spears Business, we have the Easton Center for Career Readiness, and they will help you with there's assessments that you can take. And what's great, you've probably taken those, and it's like, be an astronaut, be a farmer, be a doctor. And you're like, cool. That's not at all what I think I want to do. But what's good is to have somebody to communicate with and kind of break down, like Kelsey said earlier, what are your interests, your passions, what are you naturally good at? And they can help you navigate all of the different career fields. But then they can also, here we've got career maps where we break down for each of our majors, what an entry-level position, a mid-level, a senior level, what competencies, what skill sets do you need to have, what are some industries that you can work for, what are some companies hiring our students. So take advantage once you're on campus in your first couple semesters of all of those resources that are available to you through your academic advisor, through your career coach or career coordinator. There's a lot of opportunities to really deep dive into what your major will lead to. We're happy to get you a diploma and that you're going to graduate, but that next big step is get off your parents' couch and go get the job. And sometimes with business and with all degrees, we need a little guidance on that.
Great, thank you. So if you guys can talk a little bit about what are some high school and even college level, whether that's dual credit or initially, what classes can students take to better prepare themselves for a business degree? And then the second part of that question is, should students start off by taking their basics at a community college?
Hi, everyone. That's a great question, Allie. Thank you. So first question to kind of answer that, if your high school has those classes to take in business and accounting, those intro classes, that's a great way to start and really kind of, like Jennifer was saying before, what is accounting and what is finance? And sometimes, a lot of high schools require economics and really looking into those topics, because I think not all the times we think what it is. Sometimes a student does come in as economics and then takes that one accounting class and they completely fall in love. So if you can already do that at your high school level, dual credit opportunities, that's great to just kind of give you a head start. And even knowing what programs you want to apply for and what colleges you want to look at. And also I would say any math as well. I think a lot of times, especially at DePaul, when students start getting into business calc, they said, I wish I would have taken more of this opportunity in high school. So also really delving into your math as well. And in the second part of the question, I think it really depends on how much, your passion is in business and how much your passion is in a specific program. Because for example, a lot of us are going to have specific honors programs for incoming freshmen and not transfer students. So just as an example, for DePaul University, we have our Strobel Honors program. This is going to be for our accounting and finance students. So as a freshman at DePaul, you're already getting in contact with your big four accounting firms in Chicago, right? And these are opportunities that we only offer for incoming freshman students. So especially at a lot of our institutions that have those programs, if you take your core classes at a community college first, you're going to be missing out on these kinds of programs. So I definitely would say do your research and seeing, what's the best plan for you, because if it is taking classes at a community college and that's the best plan for you and your family, go for it, but definitely do your research first and talk to each of us here that we're all, your admission counselors, and we're just an email away and we can always answer those questions.
Great.
You brought up a really good point about different admission standards when you're talking about community colleges. And so at Michigan State, our Eli Broad College of Business is a limited enrollment program. And what that means is that although you may be admissible to the university, you might not be, or you're not guaranteed admission to our College of Business. And so that's something really to consider as you're making your college lists and starting that application process, asking different admissions counselors whether or not they have direct entry programs to their business schools, or what the path to admission specifically for the business school as well as your major is. Because the reality is that at some institutions, those business schools are extremely difficult to get into. I know for us, we boast a 40 to 50% admission rate into Eli Broad, which again, is higher than a lot of institutions' admissions rates to business. So again, be cognizant of those different standards.
I was going to chime in too. If you do decide that you've talked to your admissions counselor and community college is your best first step, and you've already talked and figured out, like Aspen was saying, kind of the routes that those look at, look for. It doesn't hurt to go ahead and get a copy of our curriculum for the degree you want to search for at your university, because like we have an international business degree at Mississippi State where you get a degree in business as well as a bachelor's in the language of your choice. And a lot of the times my transfer students won't start their language courses yet. And then they get to Mississippi State, they should be here for 2 years, and they're here a little bit longer because they didn't know. So it's always best to go ahead, even if you're not coming to us right away, we can still work with you as you're transitioning, because I'd rather work with you then than try to catch you up later when it may be a little too late. So don't forget that you can go ahead and ask those questions even if you're not coming straight to us.
Great, thank you. That is all very helpful and great advice. How can students demonstrate their skills to business schools outside of a GPA and standardized test score?
I know for us at Spears Business, one of the things that we really are looking for is that power of personal. We're really looking for students who are involved and engaged and connected to whatever's happening in high school, whatever's happening in your community, whether you're working, volunteering. And so for us, you know, particularly when we're looking at scholarship awards, we are really looking at, in addition to your academic performance, but we're looking at your leadership and your involvement in your community. So joining clubs and organizations and not just being a member, but taking on leadership roles within those organizations is going to be very important. And so I'd say just kind of look for those opportunities in your community and your school. We're not saying join 17 clubs and organizations, right? You know, join a handful that really matter to you, that is something that you're passionate about, and continue to pursue those opportunities throughout high school. And then of course, after your first semester of college, all of that comes off that resume. We got to start that back up again at the university level. And if you're already one of those people that is able to reach out and get connected and find those clubs and organizations, that transition into the collegiate world is going to be a little bit easier for you as well. So I think I'd throw that out as a start. But
I think to add, Shannon, you make a good point that goes even into your college career. And so that involvement doesn't stop when you graduate high school. I think oftentimes we have been building our resumes for the last 4 years. We've been involved in student organizations, done community service, and then we get into the college that we want to get into, and that kind of, we assume it stops. And really that continues throughout your college career. And so at places like Michigan State or any of these institutions, we're going to have obviously student organizations across our campuses, but business specific student organizations. And those can look differently on each of our different campuses. I would assume that for the most part, most of our majors, each major within our business school, are going to have their own student organizations dedicated to talking and hearing from professionals in the workplace, to, you know, doing community service outings, etc. You're also going to see fun activities, like I know for us, and again, I'm sure that y'all are, I'm preaching to the choir, but we offer a startup weekend where students get to spend 48 hours building a business proposal and presenting it, literally staying up all weekend to present that in front of a panel. So there are great ways for you to be involved. And I really think that your degrees are only what you make of it. So you absolutely could go to the #1 business school in the US. And if you're not involved and if you're not utilizing the resources that we have on our campuses, it's not worth anything. You're not going to get a job when you graduate. So get involved and start working on, start meeting with our career counselors early, go into those career centers and start getting involved in student organizations. And I think that really will transition you then into getting the job that you need.
Thanks. We just had a really good question come through the chat. There's a student who wants to study political science and is also interested in business as well as politics. So can you talk a little bit about what students' options might be within business as well as the political side of things?
Yeah, I would say go for it. I think especially even if you start thinking, once you start looking into your political science major as well as business, I know that a lot of students at DePaul end up going into corporate law as well at our law school. And so having that business background in addition to knowing about political science, like we mentioned at the beginning, being versatile and knowing about a lot of different options, that's going to go a long way. So if you can do it, definitely go for it. I think that it always helps to have kind of sometimes, you know, even though they may not be in the same college or people are like business and politics, if you're passionate about both, you're going to find something.
And I would just add, again, if that is something you want to do and you narrow down your top 3 universities or whatever you're applying to or you're accepted into, ask how long that's going to take, if that makes sense. There are 2 different degree plans. So of course we could do a major minor easily, right? But then you start doing 2 separate degrees, a BS, BA, and then of course your BA over there in the Fulbright College on our campus is where it's at. We won't tell you you can't do a double degree, but again, it just depends on how much of this curriculum overlaps with this curriculum. And so maybe a couple summer schools, you might be able to do both and have both degrees, or it may be better just to do a major minor, something like that. So again, I mean, we have students that want to combine architecture and engineering. And we're like, cool, you can do it, but they're completely separate. There's not a lot of overlap in the actual degree. So you may be there for 7 years, but we won't tell them no. But again, you know, it's one of those things, your academic advisors, I know we have some here with the colleges of business, but a lot of times, you know, we will help you. It just depends. It's going to look different at every university, but we'll let you. And like you said, if not, I may be a business student, but I can maybe, if I want to go to corporate law, I could do pre-law and be part of the organizations and student side of things too, without having to get a whole separate degree in poli-sci.
I was going to bounce off what Jennifer said. So I have a couple of ambassadors that I work with that they're interested in the political side of things too. And so they're getting business degrees, but they're doing the minor in poli-sci because one, it sets them up for a political career and understanding the facets of the political world. But a business degree is going to help them run a campaign because they're going to understand how their money is being spent, how their budgets are being spent. Business degrees are also heavy about understanding the science of decision making. So if you can make these rational decisions, you can take that into a political career. But then on top of that too, it's a great route for a law school if you want to go that direction, own your own law firm or something like that. But it's a great way for you to understand people, and like an econ degree is all about resources. So it's about the land we use, the money we use, the people we use. So if you want to talk about things like injustices or disparities or things like that, understanding that from an economic standpoint is more than just the dollars. So that can easily go into a political field. I know I'm biased because I work in the business college, but I think these 2 degrees are the ones that are the most versatile when you really start putting rubber to the road.
Great, thank you. Can you guys just talk a little bit about what is some advice that you would give prospective students as they're starting the college search process and applying to different business schools?
I think I have 2 bits of two points of wisdom maybe. We've talked about it over and over here, but communication. If you've got questions, if you want to know how something is going to work, if you want to come for a visit, if you want to observe a class, like just reach out to your admission counselor or, you know, the person directly that works in the college that you're interested in. And so just make sure that you communicate. We can help you or direct you to the people who can help you very quickly. The other piece of advice I have is kind of random, but I found that it helped some prospective students that I met with earlier. As you're working with multiple colleges, you know you're going to get a lot of emails. You're going to get a lot of communication from those universities. So in your email inbox, if you can create a folder for every university that you're applying to or you're getting information from, and have that automatic rule where that email goes into that file, then hopefully you will not miss important deadlines and communications from your college, so that you make sure that if there's scholarship opportunities, application deadlines, those kinds of things, that you're staying on top of that and it's not getting muddled in the rest in with the rest of your emails. So I think that would be my more practical tip that I would share there.
Yeah, I will also say a lot of us have general information sessions that are about our university as a whole, but we'll also have, you know, days like visit days or other, you know, events where you can actually attend a session that's hosted by our College of Business or by a specific program. Those are really great to attend because that's when you're going to get really specific information for your major. And also to kind of get a sense of the culture of the school, you know, if you want to be in an urban, you know, hustle bustle environment, or you want to go to more of a traditional campus, what does the diversity of the campus look like? What are the classroom sizes looking like? So I think a lot of that information you can get by attending those sessions and knowing that it's not always going to be like about the rankings, you know, that's something great that Aspen said. It's going to be how comfortable are you and what situation environment do you need to fully thrive in, right, to be able to succeed.
All right, I use this one every single time, but I would just remind y'all to stay organized. I know Shannon gave you some tidbits in terms of your emails, but this is a busy time of the year. Obviously, we are so sick of looking at our computer screens, but continue to stay organized and realize that even if we're at home or we're halfway at school, that deadlines are still important, and that our universities are still going to adhere to those deadlines. And so, you know, we all want to support you in any way that we can. We're really nice people, as you've hopefully seen today. But again, remember that those deadlines are hard deadlines. And so make sure that you're, you know, creating spreadsheets that let you know what documents you need throughout the admissions process. Again, if there's anything different that you need to submit for the College of Business versus admissions points to a certain university, just be aware of those and ask us. Again, you can stay organized, but know that we're also here to help you too.
We just had a question come through the chat, and this will likely vary by university, but if anyone has an answer, please go ahead and let us know. For students looking to major in international business, how are you handling international learning in the midst of a pandemic?
I mentioned international business, so I'll say our piece first. Typically with an international business degree at Mississippi State, like I said earlier, it's 2 separate degrees, so a bachelor's in business as well as one in the foreign language of your choice. And typically that also involves at least 6 weeks abroad. Obviously right now, we're not going abroad. So we're having to do what I think pretty much every college is doing right now, and just kind of make our decisions as things keep kind of unfurling a little bit. So I do know that we had some students that were graduating with the IB program this last year who were not able to complete their internship because it was supposed to happen this semester. And those students were given the opportunity to stick around and possibly like get a minor or extend their time on campus, which surprisingly a lot of them did. But some of those things can be forgiven given the situation that we find ourselves in. We also have really great partnerships, as I'm sure, I mean, these are some heavy hitting institutions that are on your screen right now. So we have some really great connections with the with different industries and things like that. So we had some really strong partnerships with companies that still allowed our students to do their internships, even though they were doing them remotely. So like companies like International Paper, FedEx, things like that, that were mailing laptops to students, still providing them with the resources they needed to make sure they were able to check their boxes and get that experience. And that really actually builds their resume, because now they're getting to say that they held a remote internship as a college student, which honestly can kind of look a little better on your resume than you might expect, because it shows a lot of like self-perseverance, determination to still get the job done, even when facing some big turmoil, we'll call it. So we're still making it work, but it is taking a lot of patience on both the student side and the school side. As long as y'all are willing to work, we're here to support you, kind of like what Aspen said earlier with our resources.
Great, thank you. The next question that we have is, all of these are out-of-state institutions. Is it more expensive to go out of state, and what are some scholarship or financial aid opportunities?
That's a great question, and one that I love to debunk, right, every time that I hear it. So I think that it is a total myth that it is more expensive to go out of state. And the reason that I explain that is that if you look on any of our websites, of course, we are almost all public institutions. And so you're going to see that there's a differential between in-state and out-of-state tuition. And of course, that out-of-state tuition is a higher price. But that's typically not what you're paying. There are scholarships and financial aid that can bring that down. There's reciprocity agreements with certain institutions or states to make it more affordable. So make sure that you're doing your homework in terms of looking on what each of our websites are. And we all, by law, have a net price calculator on our website. And so you can go to that link. I Google it all the time. So net price calculator, Michigan State, or whatever institution you're looking for, and pull that up, and it'll take some very specific information about you as a student and your family's financial situation and estimate what your cost of attendance would be for that year. And the reason that that's really important is that it really is going to show you a pretty realistic snapshot of what you can expect to pay at an out-of-state institution. And I know I'm speaking specifically for MSU, but there were so many students I had from Texas last year that we ended up being more affordable than in-state counterparts that are here, or that I've had students from Texas come to Michigan State and actually pay less than what a Michigan resident would be paying because of those in-state or those scholarships, excuse me. So be aware of that. I know there are a couple of us on this call that do, if you are a dependent of a veteran, that offer in-state tuition for any dependents of veterans or that are married to an active duty military member. I'm trying to think of other great tidbits, but again, definitely do some research and reach out to your admissions counselors.
And I was just going to add too on that, because you mentioned the military dependents. You know, everyone, we get a lot of Texans, of course, everyone thinks that it's in-state tuition in Arkansas. And I know that's the rumor you hear. I'm sure some of my counterparts online can say the thing. It's a scholarship. So before you automatically assume you're getting in-state tuition, you know, reach out to the university, see what type of programs they have. If your friend told you they're paying in-state tuition, probably not. They got one of our scholarships. Ours is called the New Arkansan Award. But then on the flip side of that, there are universities that if you're from this county or you're from this state or this whatever, they're going to give you in-state tuition. We have some other universities in Arkansas. If you live on their campus, you get in-state tuition. That's not us, but again, everyone does it so different. You're going to hear that all. It just depends on the university. We do one for Native American students. If they're a member of a tribe native to the state of Arkansas, then we classify them as a resident. So again, you know, you hear that in-state. What does that mean? You know, was a student receiving an actual merit-based scholarship, or was it something based on military, Native American, because I reside in a certain county? So there's a lot of ways to go about that. And I'm gonna let Brenda chime in here too, because she's the private school. Also, don't discount out of state, because there are a lot of scholarship programs, but also private schools as well. We're governed by our states, right? And so our governor and the powers that be, they dictate kind of what we can do. You know, we can only allow 50% of our freshman class to be from out of state. Our focus, of course, is to Arkansans and taxpayers. But your private institutions, they have a lot more money usually to give out, and they may have that higher price tag, but again, they can give a lot more than a state school might be able to.
Yeah, and I would also add, so like Jennifer said, DePaul is private, so it's the same whether you're in-state or out of state. So a lot of times my Texas students may be paying less than my Illinois students. And so all depending on scholarships and financial aid. I will also add, for any of you that are probably maybe out of underrepresented communities, you know, there's a lot of scholarships like women in business, you know, Latino, Black, Asian students in business. So really looking for those scholarships, whether that it's an institution or just Googling it online, I think you're going to be surprised to see how many scholarships there are really supporting students that come from underrepresented backgrounds.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think this has been some great advice. I will just remind everyone that while we've heard from 5 universities today, there are countless institutions out there. So when in doubt, the best piece of advice is to reach out to the university that you're considering. I really want everyone's biggest takeaway today to be that there are people that are based here in Dallas-Fort Worth that are ready and willing to answer any questions that you might have. And we know that the college search process can be overwhelming at any point, but in the middle of a pandemic, that definitely adds some additional challenges. So please utilize your business reps, utilize your admissions counselors. We're definitely here to help. And again, texasdarn.com is going to have all of our contact information. And before we go on ahead and get off the call, I'll just see, does anyone have any parting thoughts or words of wisdom that they want to share? Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much. We will post this recording to the Darn YouTube channel. It'll probably be next week before we get it posted. But in the meantime, if y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or anyone else that has been on the panel. Thanks so much, and y'all have a good afternoon.